We used to say Naija no dey carry second. Today we say Naija no dey carry.
Capital intensive,
In Nigeria, brains we have
continuous innovation.
89 foundries in Nigeria.
The cash flow can be a big problem. Welcome again to the another episode of Pivot Point podcast. Today with me in the studio, I have a very interesting gentleman by name Vasilis Oyenuga. Yes, you heard me very right. Vasilis Oyenuga is a second generation businessman in Nigeria in manufacturing industry. I will have the pleasure of listening to him today, talking about doing business in Nigeria, what are the challenges involved in manufacturing, and what are the potential innovation, what are the latest trends, and what does the future hold for manufacturing in Nigeria. Vasilis is well traveled, as you can imagine. Is well connected also because of the many years of experience working in manufacturing in Nigeria. But most importantly, he has a depth of knowledge and also he has a bag of wisdom with him. Welcome to the show, Vasilis.
Thank you very much for having me.
Give us a brief of yourself. What will you say about yourself after decades and decades of experience working in the manufacturing in Nigeria?
Well, my old man came from Greece in 1958. He started working in Leventis. He then went to. He eventually started making he was the first manufacturer of plastic sandals in the early 60s. And then around in 67, when I was a little kid, he took me to, took us both, my mother and I, to Canada to meet his other brother and decide to set up a foundry. Yeah, so he decided in 1967 when they met in Canada at the Expo 67 and under the Nigerian stand, the potentiality of Nigeria with all its oil and everything, that it would require foundries. Yeah. So based on that, in 69, Nigerian Foundries was set up by the two brothers, and over the decades, we are 56 years old. Over the decades, we grew and invested in a lot of different high-tech technologies related to our clients and to the foundry business.
Interesting journey. Interesting. Was that the first foundry business in Nigeria?
No, you had Elder Dempster, from which was an old shipping line that had its own foundry. Nigerian Railways had its own foundry. So there were a few places that under the British had foundries to be able to make repairs and so on and produce spare parts.
Okay. And how many industries do you touch today? Do you provide service for?
Well, today we provide service for, I would say, the largest range of industries, starting from mines, quarries, cement plants, going to agro-allied, going to oil and gas, and going into the power sector, and so on. The only reason that we touch all these industries is because we're probably one of the three companies in Africa, and probably the only one that has 4 out of 5 manufacturing technologies that are available in this world. Yes, in this world too.
In this world also.
I'm talking about primary manufacturing processes. So what am I referring to? Subtractive, which is basically like machine shops, anything that you take material and you pull out. Then you have pressure manufacturing, which is using either thermal pressure or using force, like forging and so on, to make things. Then you have the foundry industry, which is actually melting stuff, and then you have the fabrication metal industry, which is basically cutting and welding and so on. And now you have the latest one, which is additive manufacturing, which most people will know as 3D printing. So out of all these that I listed, the only one that we don't have is forging. Well, probably there must be something in there must be some in a little bit in South Africa, and maybe in North Africa, but it's not at all prevalent.
Across the continent. Let's come back to Nigeria. What has changed in the foundry business today that wasn't there in 1969 when it was started?
Well, the old colonial players, let's put it that way, a lot of those closed down. Then there were a number of foundries that opened up, especially when Ajaokuta Steel started and opened up and so on. So at one point in time, based on a document or a survey done by the Federal Ministry of Industry, we had about 89 foundries in Nigeria. And at that time, with Naseni and so on, we formed the Foundry Association of Nigeria, and that was my old man. And we even had 2 international exhibitions and so on. But eventually, government policy is not supporting industrialization and foundries and so on. All the foundries closed down. So today, I would say it's you have just a number of backyard foundries, and then it is us and Nigerian machine tools.
Wow, wow. And I'll come back to the government policies because that's a very big conversation over there. But if you come from a bigger industry or players in the industry to 1 or 2 today in Nigeria, what do you have that others did not have that made you survive this time?
Well, our own focus was we focused on growing vertically within our technology, because foundry technology is very vast, and we grew within our technology, and then we started looking at what our other things our clients wanted, which was close to our technology. So offering the same clients more reverse engineered parts and so on, so they could keep moving. A lot of other foundries, they struggled, so people started diversifying laterally, so they would start moving into plastics, into this, into that, and then you start losing the technology. And you start losing the market and so on. So I'd say it's basically passion and persistence and perseverance that kept us going.
Passion, persistence, perseverance, innovating in a vertical line, not pivoting or moving to a different type of business. That's interesting. Let's go back to the question on the policies, the government policies. If you have a magic wand today, what type of policies would you like to pass in Nigeria that supports the industry you play in?
Well, it's not a matter of policies now anymore. We should actually go and look at why actually we did have we did support from way back in the 70s Nigerian content in a different way than what it got supported in the 2000s. I mean, we're sitting and talking about the Air Beetle that was produced in Nigeria. And we're talking, and again, it stopped being produced. We are talking about Peugeot, Volkswagen, and all that. So there was never any consistency in policies. And then we started having all these foreign exchange problems. And like many people don't remember that at one point in time, 1 naira was $2.2 and so on. So eventually, a lot of players moved out, and those who survived and continued going were those who were in producing consumable items and so on. So For today, for me, I would sit and say a lot of people like to go and hammer the fact that infrastructure, foreign exchange availability and such things. For me, that is applies to everybody. Okay, so for me, one of the biggest things is the fact that we don't support made in Nigeria, even though those of us who have survived make quality products. And number two, we need to have a Nigerian Content Act. We have it for the oil and gas. It was going quite well. Now it needs, after COVID, it kind of slipped back, and now we need to come and revamp it again. And yes, there have been a number of proposals to do it for the entire country and so on, but it can't come out just as a directive. And our President Tinubu has issued it as a directive, but it can't come out as a directive. There are a number of documents that have passed first, second reading, and so on, but we don't have a commitment, in general, overall commitment to support industrialization and made in Nigeria. Most manufacturers suffer from demand. I would say once you start having the demand, you will be able to move on and keep the machine running. A lot of things irrelevant to the past in many aspects. Power is getting better. It's getting better either because of using gas, or because
the cost itself is going higher.
the cost is going higher, but compared to the rest of the African countries, our cost is quite low compared to
South Africa,
compared even to Ghana.
wow.
So it's so as a result, we have a lot of other issues, but the one simple one for me would be if the government would concentrate on the ease of doing business. Yes, because I mean these are simple things. Sanitize the ports. Let's get things going through the port much faster. Let's get certain roads that are key roads for moving, transporting things, goods, and in good condition, and keep some security on the roads for those areas. And the last thing is, right now Forex is available because it is at the autonomous rate, which I mean for me is the rate that the country should be working on if you want to survive. And based on that, otherwise all the other things are it's just how you deal with your external environment.
That's good. That's good. That's a good one. You said ease of doing business needs to be focused on prioritizing local production. Also, would definitely help the industry in Nigeria. But with 2 players or 3 players still in Nigeria today, how big is the headroom of opportunities in a country as big as Nigeria and touching so many industries as you explained earlier?
Well, it's not a matter of us. We, the foundry industry is non-existent. But I mean, what we do is we provide it's no longer a product. We actually, most manufacturing plants have very old equipment.
Yeah.
Or have old equipment, and some have new equipment and so on. But logistics today, it just showed us already with COVID, already with the Ukraine war, and now with the bombing of Iran and Middle East and Hormuz closing, that logistics will be terrible and so on. So we do need to become self-sufficient and resilient in our own economies.
Supply chain localization.
Yes, supply chain localization, and that's a very important aspect.
And do you see all of this bringing increasing costs to manufacturing? What you just explained now, because of the incidents happening around the world, supply chain again will come back to local dependencies. Do you see more cost coming in the business?
Well, in general, right now, with the way the world is, I see. There's going to be a lot of high costs coming all around the world. Inflation is going to affect most countries in the world and so on. And it's a situation with the way these wars have been going on and so on, with the way that energy is going to go. Of course, everything will be increased in costs and so on. But then at the end of the day, we're all in the same world, and we all have to face ourselves and survive.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that, Vasily. Earlier on, you spoke about what kept you afloat in the industry being innovation in the vertical space. And the latest one which you mentioned, which includes the 3D printing, what solution does this offer that was not there before?
I wouldn't say it offers a solution. It's a very new technology. New technology in it's already 30 years old from MIT and so on. But I mean, it's a new technology becoming more and more accessible, available, and so on. But it has its own issues. Plastic 3D printers have become by far cheaper. By far cheaper than compared to 2016-17. A lot of things have become cheaper. You buy them in kits and you can sit and put them together. But there are other things that are present in this technology is that it's not everybody sits and thinks the way 3D printing has been portrayed is like you buy the machine, buy the raw material, and then you cut, paste the drawing, and then you press and you print. And that's not the case. That's not at all the case.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of hype in 2019, 2016, 17, 18, especially with the younger people. At that time, you had GE garages that was training a lot of young people and so on, and also in laser technology and this and that and that. And the number went and invested. And then after that, they found it was difficult to make a living and scaling up because it cost money. So at the end of the day, moving into this technology, which still has a huge unknown factor to it, and it's continuously developing, you don't move into it if you don't have other streams of income.
Yeah.
So if your family depends from what you have invested on metal 3D printing or plastic 3D printing, and you want to scale it up, well, sorry, you will remain hungry.
Wow. It is one of the solutions that you need to have. It's not a dependence.
You need to have a solution. You need to have imagination. You need to have the passion to push it. You need to have the funding to push it. And even if you have all these things, it is still a very big gray area, because even in the rest of the world, it's only now universities are actually teaching metal 3D printing and so on. And so it's one of those things. The 3D printing industry from way back 2016, 2010 and whatever, wanted to become very well known. So they touted it that it is simple, it is easy. And we here in Africa thought that, oh wow, maybe this one will, this technology will usher...
It's off the shelf.
Well, not only off the shelf, but it will be the same, follow the same succession, like when we jumped from analog phones straight to mobile telephony and so on. And that didn't happen because there's a big difference in jumping from mobile to from analog to mobile. So there's a big difference, because here you've actually got to get involved in learning design, learning how to innovate, and so on. And in particular, if you're making parts for other industries, you have to know They use the parts, how the machinery works, what is the material you're going to sit and use. They come to you and ask you and say, hey, I've got this part, I want it redesigned. On top of it, I want it improved. So you have to actually understand manufacturing design. You have to understand your client's pains, and you have to understand how metallurgy and plastic specifications and so on to be able to offer your client what he or she wants. So that's very tricky.
That's modern engineering.
Yeah.
That's modern engineering. That requires a bit more knowledge and wisdom. Absolutely. And how do you manage the capability for your organization? Because the solution that we are talking about today, it's not widespread, definitely. And when you have such solution, buying the equipment is one, but also the capability to run it. How do you manage the capability for your organization to be able to run such solutions?
Well, it's the interesting thing is, in Nigeria, brains we have. Okay, we have brains, we export the brains. Everybody's, there's a brain drain. We export our brains and so on. Finding young people who are ready to enter into this realm and to train them and to learn as they go, teach and learn as they go, is the way to go forward. But one big problem we have, in particular, I think, with the younger generation is they don't have the patience to scale up things. So they'll take it, they'll do it, they'll reach to a certain level, and then they'll drop it and say, hey, no money here, we're going to move into something else, and so on. And that's why 3D printing has not moved much. Now, once you want to go to a higher level, even if you've got the money, there's hardly anyone abroad who will guide you. Because why? Because it's a new technology. If you're going to find somebody from Germany, he first will tell you, I don't want to come to Nigeria. Even if you go and pay him 1,000, 1,500 euros per day, he might come, won't give you everything. There's other diverse areas, is that in metal 3D printing, for example, you have different type of metal 3D printing technologies. So, also the realm of metal 3D printing and plastic 3D printing, a lot of companies from a lot of foreign company OEMs have actually started off well, got funding, and then crashed because they couldn't keep up with the R&D of their technologies and so on. So even when you go to exhibitions like I've been doing from way back 2017, you see so many companies are out of the industry, and so then you start wondering as a manufacturer, do I actually want to buy something which I don't know even if that company in 2 years
will be able to match or upgrade the capability to run
the capability or support me. Another aspect is, before you used to buy, let's say you have a machine shop and you buy a nice lathe machine and whatever, it would last you, you would sit and depreciate it over a period of 20 years. 25 years. Today,
it will not change.
Yeah. Today, you go spend 1-2 million euros, hey, you depreciate it in 5 years.
5 years, yes. And then within the 5 years, you need to have enough demand. You need to have the capability to run it and turn the investment around into profit. And that's more challenging. And that's why there are not so many players that are able to do it, because it requires more than skill. It requires patience, resilience, and I think a little bit about passion as well.
Well, it requires a lot of passion, and then one other thing we always forget. You might, like in our own case, we might be doing something, producing a part for a client out of, say, using a foundry technology, and then suddenly we might say to them, hey, how about we try do it out of metal 3D printing? Is that client ready to go that route?
Or to pay for it.
Or to pay for it. It's very, very multifaceted.
And what are the opportunities using this technology for clients outside of Nigeria?
Well, basically, it puts you in an equal denominator with all the other countries. Okay, because what happens is it's they're called 3D printing bureaus. Okay, so you've got a 3D printing bureau with all the
Across the world?
well, have them across the world. You have what is called pre-production, post-production, and all that. You know that your raw materials are specific raw materials, which are today having a certain standard, specifications and standards. At the end of the day, it is, as an engineer in Nigeria, how cheaper can you produce it compared to a German engineer? Of course, another big aspect is that you have a lot of support software and so on that you need to use from SolidWorks and so on. But you have simulation software, you have all kinds of software like this, which also cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah. And then you have the extra cost of doing business in an environment like ours.
Have the extra cost, but somewhere you save when it comes to because you can save on the human factor, you can save on the on rent and certain things.
Access to raw materials.
No, raw materials they're all imported from the same. You know, there are specific people who produce companies that produce these raw materials. It's not just.
But I'm talking about the metal itself.
The metal itself, it's most of it is powder metallurgy. Powder to buy is specific companies for 3D printing. If you're going to use 3D printing that uses welding cables, you can use welding cables. That is by far much more available. But the 3D printing using welding system might not pass certain industries' technical and quality standards. So everything, there's a reference point to everything. So, and a lot of times it is a trial and error, which the OEM that is supplying you the equipment is not ready to
dive into, to invest
no,
into.
not to dive in. They're not ready to support you because they haven't tried. So if you go and try it out with your own clients and it works fantastic, then good for you.
Good for you, yeah. Otherwise, you take the brunt. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And then how will you describe the future of manufacturing in Nigeria, given everything that you know and everything you are going through right now?
Well, it's difficult to sit and say because we are primarily consumable-based manufacturing, not much of the engineering side, yeah. And so on. I always say that the big problem we have in Africa is, well, let's put it this way: you make money from what you have on the ground, what you grow above ground, and what you have in the sea.
In the sea.
Okay, so on the ground, solid minerals, we have oil and gas, but how much of that are we actually processing within country? Okay, so there's not much being processed within country. Most of it is exported and so on.
Coming back as finished goods.
Coming back as finished goods, and we all know
we lose the benefit of the manufacture.
Yes, we lose completely. Now the other aspect is above ground is agriculture, timber, and all that. Again, that is going mostly out as a raw material or semi-processed raw material and being brought in as a finished product. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is these industries that come from sea, land, and underground that if you would do all the processing would support the semi-finished raw materials for further manufacturing. So that's normal. That's the case. It's like let us take the aluminium smelter in Ikotabasi. I mean, it was under Abacha. It was a very good, it was a fantastic plant. It was a fantastic initiative. Bauxite doesn't exist in Nigeria, but we will bring it in from Guinea, Conakry, and because of the gas, the energy we have, we would have been able to process it and convert it. And convert it into ingots and so many things for extrusion companies in Nigeria to use and. So that has not happened and is not happening in general all over Africa. Yeah.
It's a general problem, and why do you think it's so, for instance? Why we have so many raw materials, why we have the brain, as you said, and why we are not able to convert to finished goods, or even semi-finished goods?
Well, there's two sides to the coin. One is the side from outside, where basically the Europeans, Americans, and so on never wanted us to be able to do this. Basically, the white man never wanted that, and that's part one. And part B, I think, falls on us that we never had the passion and the drive, and we were more after chasing for money with all kinds of deals. And I'll put a third one. Part of it, as we are talking now so many years, the diaspora. I mean, how many of the diaspora actually coming back to be able to reinvest their knowledge and everything, and retired people and so on, and help the younger ones and have mentorship and so on. Our youth lack mentorship. There's no mentorship. There's nothing like that. So.
Yeah. And you don't see any of this changing in the foreseeable future, 10 years, 20 years?
Not something I can see changing. It's what you want as a entrepreneur to give back. Yeah. If you have more companies wanting to give back, it will help out. I mean, we have 8 MOUs with universities. We are very well known to be a training ground. A good number of professors in Unilag, FUTA, and so on are ex-Nigerian foundries and so on. So we've been a big training ground, but also a lot have left the country. So, and we are persistent and continuously doing it, but by far more. There needs a serious commitment. There needs a commitment. This is a commitment from entrepreneurs from their heart, if they're going to do it or not. It's not a commitment of I'll do it and then drop it.
I'll see how it goes. Yeah. I will see how it goes. And this comes very clearly to me because I'm reflecting as you're speaking. And for me, it seems decision is made already either by the first generation or obviously by you, that we are in this business, we are going to stay in this business. We are going to innovate in this business, but we're not going to look into something else. And this decision drives everything else you do, because the times can be hard and sometimes a little bit easier, or there can be new technology and you need to play in that new technology to continue to win. But I feel from what you speak that the decision is already made and you're going to exist in this business and you're going to make it work and hopefully also transfer it to the next generation.
Yes, but I also need to say something else. You've just got to understand that we are one of the extremely few companies that is in reverse and re-engineering of products, which is basically what the Chinese did before copying, and the Japanese and the Koreans, okay? And then using our manufacturing processes to make it happen. All the remaining, like say Dangote's cement's got training schools and so on, but that's specific to cement. I'm referring back to foundries and such companies, forging companies and so on, are the backbone of all those other industries. Okay, so we are talking now cement, we are talking limestone. Limestone comes from under the ground. So if you have a cement plant and you don't have a foundry, who's going to supply casted parts?
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And that brings us to a very interesting place, Vasilis, because resolute to stay in the business, how big is profitability in your decision making?
Be a bit more specific, because
Because if you make a decision to stay and you stay because you believe and you have passion for it, um, how, let's assume it's not making as much money as you expect. Would your decision change in the near future if it continues like?
No, it won't change, because we never made as much money as consumable manufacturing companies. You've got to understand that sometimes if somebody gives you 1,000 pieces of 500 kilo items, it can take you 3 months to produce, and the person says, I want a credit facility for 60 days, and you have a few more lapses, so you're probably collecting your money back in 6 months, 7 months, and then what happens when you start having having devaluation and inflation and so on, and replacement. So it's all these things one has to be able to mitigate, and this is again part of the big reason why there's hardly any foundries and nobody goes in the foundry industry.
It's capital intensive. It's not big margins. It requires continuous innovation. The cash flow can be a big problem, and there are few players. Yet it is needed for continuous growth of the economy, which will come mostly from manufacturing. And we go back in circles again, back to the question of policies. Is the government doing enough to support, let's call it the bedrock of the manufacturing industry, as we know today?
As we're talking today, not much. There isn't. There's not much anymore. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, of which we're a member of, and we've been involved since 1969. They've been trying and trying and trying. We've been trying as lobby groups and this and that and that. Yeah, some small little concessions and this and that and that. But the whole dynamics in Nigeria have changed. The whole dynamics in the world have changed. At one point in time, we used to have leaders who had an ideology and had a passion for certain things. And I think the whole world has just completely gone on a different tangent, and you've just got to learn how you're going to survive in that tangent.
Absolutely. So not much support from the government. Industry expert associations, union are doing the best, but obviously not enough. So it's mostly passion that.
It's mostly passion, and again, it's which industry are you in? If you're in the consumer industry, it's a different ball game. Yeah. If you're in the hospitality industry, it's a different ball game, and then the easier industries have the most competition also.
Interesting, and really you broke down the level of the challenge, and starting from cultural, as you explained, the different sources of wealth above the ground, beneath the ground, in the water, our appetite to drive the change that we want. Foreign interest is also part of it. But at the end of the day, it boils down to I can feel there is a big opportunity somewhere, and maybe we are not yet able to reach it. And as you said, maybe we will never reach it in another generation or another 2 generations, but it will be, in my view, not a good story if at some point we as a country are not taking the right steps in the right direction, or making the right policies, or offering the right support to support the manufacturing industry. Because if you look at the history of the world as well, it starts with the industrialization. The wealth that we see today in the world starts with industrialization, mass production, efficiency in production. For you to be able to do that, you need industries like yours to be able to supply raw materials in the right quality at the right speed to support such a growth. And then the economy started to grow. And only when we had big demand and big production, then we had the concept of the middle class. Yes. Then we started saying there is something called middle class. They need to work for a wage, and they need to spend the money in the economy, and then everything started to go round. So all of this is deeply connected at the end of the day to the wealth of the country. It's not just we do for manufacturing or for manufacturers that support the manufacturing industry, because it's a nice thing to do. It takes a bit more vision to see 10, 20, 15 years ahead, and to make the right sacrifice today that at the end of the day result in big economic growth.
So, it's what you said, based on, like I said, what's on the ground, what is on the ground, what is in the sea. Yeah. How do we utilize and how do we process all these things, and then it becomes a whole chain. And then that activates service industry and everything else. So
grow the middle class, and then we can now start talking about how we share the wealth. Yeah. And then we can start talking about capitalism or the other form of government in the world. But at the end of the day, you need to create the wealth. And only when you create the wealth, you can talk about how much you take and how much I take. And we are still not there. And we are still generations away from getting there, at least in this part of the world. Thank you very much, Vasilis, for coming on the show. It's been amazing talking to you, eye-opening and quite educative about what you do and the importance of what you do for the economy. Any last words from you before we round up?
Well, there's always hope, and we keep on trying, and we keep on moving.
As a Nigerian, there's always hope.
There's always hope, and I want to also say something else. Yeah. During my own time growing up, we used to say Naija, no dey carry second. Today we say Naija, no dey carry last. Yeah. So that tells you clearly what the situation is.
Wow. From second to last, in terms of the base of comparison, shows how far we have gone. You can figure out the direction. Yeah. Thank you, Vasilis.
Okay, thank you very much.
I will hope to have you again.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Thank you.